Okay, guy. Hello. Good. Good morning. Here is morning. I don't know what time is it on your side. So today in this video, I'm going to show you how to install and configure your own Linux server. I'm going to use vmware and Almalinux 9. So I'm very sorry, guys, for my voice. But I wanted to show you how to install and configure your own servers. So let's get started. So I'm gonna first open the Google Chrome and search for the Alma Linux. So go ahead and search for it. You download the Alma Linux you want. So I'm using Intel, and then I will go with minimal OS Alma Linux 9.6. I'm not going to show you how to download it because I already downloaded and I have it in my downloaded. Let me show you what version it is. Is uh is Alma Linux 9.6, and then I'm going to open my VMware. I'm going to open my VMware now, VMware Pro Workstation, this one, and I will create a new virtual machine here, new virtual machine, and then I'll select as it is, and then I'll click Alma Linux 24 bits. This is, I will browse the image. This is my image, the one that I have, and then I will click next and next, and then I will increase the GB a little bit. Let make it 40. So 40 GB is enough for me, and then I will leave this split virtual disk into multiple file, no problem. And then the memory is 2 GB. I will change it to be at least 4 GB. For me, is good, but 2 GB is enough. And then I will finish. So in this video, you will learn a lot. You will learn how to install and configure Alma Linux server, how to secure your Alma Linux server, and other settings related to Linux server. So now, as you see, the screen is say that install Alma Linux 9. So I will click on install. And then we let us waiting for the installation. So as you see now, the installation is loading. And everyone can see that there is a percentage there is loading. So the installer is now starting. The installer is now starting. Installation, log file, and scripting. So you have to wait a little bit. So the installer is now starting. So I will choose my language there. I will choose my language English, and I am in United States, English United States, and then you click continue. You go ahead, you choose any language you want and the region where you live in. And then as you see here, we have the installation destination, we have the root password and the user creation. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a user, right? So this user is gonna be demo. Let's call it as admin. And then I'm gonna make as well as this user as administrator. And then I'm gonna create the password for this user. It's too short. I will go with a short password, right? I don't wanna go with a long password, just the video tutorial. And then I will click done. There I will click done. And then the user is created. Root account is disabled. I don't want to the root account is used for administering the system in the password for the root user. So I will also allow this if you want you will allow this root user or this root account. So I will also allow this root SSH account and then create the password. And then I will click again 1, 2, 3, 4. The password is too short, no problem. Log account. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the installation here, and then I will click on the installation. So I will select the disk, the one that I want to install. I will select this one, and then automatic, and then I will click done, and then I'm ready to install. Installation destination is ready. It means that I am ready to install, and then I will click on the begin installation here. This is the begin installation. So the installation will begin. The installation will begin. So it will take some time, guys, and let's wait for it. So while we are waiting, so in this video I have shown you how to download it, the Almalinux 9, and how to install it in the VMware server. The same process you can use it in the bare metal machine. So in the next tutorial after the installation, you will see how to configure and add user, firewall, add set Linux, and then network setting, enable and disable services, update CentOS, add additional repository, use WebAdmin console, use VM setting, sudo setting, and etc. etc. So there is a lot. There are so much more to learn in this tutorial, but today's tutorial will go a few of them. We'll go with a few of them. The let me while we are waiting for the installation. Let me let me let me open notepad here and show you something. Okay, while the installation is running, let me show you something very important. So the first thing that you have seen there is how to download this Almalinux. I show you there how to download the Almalinux, and then the second thing is how to install this Almalinux. I have shown you the process. So far we have done these two things. I show you how to download and how to install, and then the next things we're going to do the initial in we're gonna we call it initial setting after installation of this Alma Linux. So after in this initial setting, we're gonna have a few things like any users accounts, okay, and then the end user account. Number two is going to be firewall and set Linux. You're gonna be like firewall, firewall and set Linux. And then number three, maybe we're gonna go into network, but I will not go deep into it. All of this we're gonna be like the basic one so that everyone can understand for the first time if you want to install or create your own server at home. So this one is gonna be number three is gonna be network setting, and enable disable service number four. So number four is going to be enable and disable service. So number five is gonna be update CentOS, update the OS, something like that. As you know, the Alma Linux update CentOS system is gonna be number five. Number six is going to be any additional repositories. Number seven is going to be use webmin. It's going to be use webmin console. It's going to be use webmin console, and maybe we will check if we have enough time. I don't know why I like writing this way. We're gonna check for the VM setting. Oh my god! So we're gonna call it a VM setting, and the number nine is gonna be sudo. It's gonna be sudo setting. So the installation still goes on. The installation still goes on. So these are the few things that we're going to learn today. So let us waiting for the installation of our Linux, this one, and then you will see. I hope the screen is visible and anyone can see the installation there. So as you see, the installation is finished, and then it wants us to reboot the system. So I will reboot the system now. I will now reboot the system. I press on the reboot, and the system is now being rebooted. As you can see now, my system is now rebooting. So I hope the screen is visible and everyone can see that. So let us wait for the system to reboot. So the system is now reboot. So I don't know why it takes some time. You say, okay, now we need to log into our system has been rebooted. So now we need to log into our Linux server. So as you know, the Linux server usually use the GUI, usually use the terminal. So there is another way that you can install and set up the GUI so that you can run the Linux GUI server. So in this instance, I will show you using terminal. So as you see now, you see the local host, and then it wants us login credentials. So we'll have to write our login credential. You remember I create the username, login, and then I'm gonna put the password. The username I created was admin there, and then the password is root. So I am now logging as admin. So if you want to see your director and everything, this pwd is present working director. You can see you are at home admin. So the Linux server has now been created, and we were able to log into our server. So the second thing to do is to, as I told you here, that we will follow this guideline, add users. So initial setting, all of these 1 to 9 are the initial settings. So you don't want, let's say you have more than one user that you want them to manage your server, right? So let's say you have admin, you have the super user, you have the developer. So you will create user according to the privilege, to their privilege. So as I told you that I am using Almalinux. So in this video and in this tutorial, right now I will show you how to add users account in Almalinux. To add user account in Almalinux, we have to add the command add user, right? Add user and then username. So the username that you are going to add is, you can type any name. The command is add user, and then the next is following with the username that they want to add. Let's say I want to add user Alma, right? Or I want to add user Dev, right? So this is our user. So Dev is gonna be our user. Add user is a command to create a new user. So and then I press enter. You see, add user permission is denied. We have to run this permission as a sudo permission, means super user permission, admin permission. We have to get the privilege. So to add user as a super user, you need to add, because we are not running this as a root, we are not running this server as a root, we are not logging into the server as a root, we log in as an admin role, admin user. So in order to log in as a root, maybe you can switch, you can type the command as a su and then type root. There you can type the password of uh, your account, root account. Authentication failure, I don't know why. So root authentication failure. I know I did the mistake. I will solve it later. So in order to add user, we have to run sudo permission, right? Sudo add user. So sudo add user is gonna be, this user is gonna be user dev. So our new user is gonna be user dev. So we have to write the password for the admin. Then now you guys wait a little bit. The kid is crying. Wewe mfanye pega zako mwachalie. Usio kamera mwachalie fanya pega zako. So to add user in the server, you have to write the command sudo and then add user. So now I have to write the password of the admin, that the one that is logging to the server. So in order to create the user. So the user is created. The user dev is created. So now we have to create the password for our user, that the one that we created. So to create a password for user, we type sudo passwd and then the username of the username that you want to create the password. So create the new password. Okay, the password is created. So right now I'm going to switch it to the user that I created. So to switch to the user that I created, I will type the command su and then username following the username that you want to switch. So put the password of the user that you want to switch. You see, now I switched it from admin to dev. Dev is a user that I created. On the terminal, you see that I switched it from admin to dev, right? So now I want to what we have seen so far. We have seen how to add users, how to switch users, and how to create user password, right? You have seen how to create user account. I'm gonna switch back to admin. I'm gonna switch back to admin and then I'm gonna put password. now I switch back to admin. So the next thing is to add this admin, this dev user uh, to the super user, to the group, to the wheel group, right? So I'm gonna add this user from the group admin group, sudo group, so that there he can add some, so he can do some admin command and admin setting. He's gonna have permission to do something like maybe install, update, something like that. So in this way also we will limit this user to do the su command every time, like sudo something like that. So to add user to the wheel group, I will type user, I will type sudo user mode, sudo user mode hyphen a capital G, and then wheel following the name of the user that we created, and then press enter. User mode without e, say we get an error. User mode is without e, so user mode without e, and then the user has been added to the group. And then to see that setting, that change you made, maybe you can say vi and then type vi etc pam dot d and then so pam dot authentication required. Let's find the house sufficient house required pam.mv.so. Okay, w q. I will clear the terminal. I want to increase the font so that anyone can see it clear. Anyway, now to remove the user that you created, you can type the command user del. This command user del will delete the user you created. Which username we create is dev. Let type the wrong user first. You see, user dev is not exist. So now we're going to create the, we're gonna input the real user del, and then call dev. No, you see, we have to run this command as a sudo. So let me sudo let me type this way, sudo su. I don't want to run over and over the sudo command. Sudo su. Now I switch to root. So this way it will not force me to run the command with sudo. So I will run any command without sudo. So now we're going to delete the user that I told you, user del dev. We're gonna delete this dev. Wrong command. Del user del dev. My keyboard is not good. You see, user del is current used by this process, something like that. So you cannot delete this user because it is used. So in order to avoid this, we have to stop this process. You have to stop this process in order to delete user, because this user is used by the process that one. So you have to check the process. So the user is using the process. We're gonna set the process. As you remember that the user user dev is used by process 4761. Process 4761 is which one? Process 4761. We don't see the process 4761. TTY bash command. Okay. So we have to kill this process. We have to shop this process. Okay, 47. Let me check. Is this user dev is, you see, go ahead on the go ahead on the bottom there. You will see this one, and the process is 4761. So right now we cannot delete that. Is bash. So we have to kill that process. And then we type kill the number, which number of the process is 4761. This way we kill the process, and right now we're going to try to delete the user. uh, okay, the process is killed. So right now when we try again to delete the user, we have to log in first. Admin, I don't know why it's take me out. Okay, so I'm going to delete the user del, and then dev. Oh, sudo. I have to type sudo command, and then user dev is deleted. Okay, the user dev is deleted, and if you're trying to switch to user dev, it will say that user dev does not exist. The user entry is not exist. So far you have seen on how to create add users, how to create users, delete user, add user password, and everything related with uh, end user account. These are some initial setting. And then the next thing that we are going to see is firewall and say Linux. This is a very complicated thing. So right now we're going to configure firewall and say Linux. It is possible to display firewall service status like follows. So to display the firewall service, you type system uh, you type systemctl status system status here firewall diamond. System. Okay, system command is not correct. What? I am very new to Almalinux, guy. I don't know why this command it says system ctl status firewall d. Okay, so by default the firewall is running. You see here, you see the status is active. So the firewall service is active and running. So firewall is active and running. Task to limit memory, something like that. So it means that our firewall is active. To stop this firewall, you can type systemctl and then stop the firewall. If you stop the firewall will stop. Fail to stop firewall access is denied. Maybe we have to run it as sudo. We have to run it as sudo. Then put the admin password. You see now the firewall is inactive now. The firewall status is inactive, means the firewall is not running. So we can enable that firewall. The firewall is very important in your computer server, in the server. So to enable the firewalls, type system sudo systemctl enable firewall d. So if you check the firewall of the starter is still disabled. Why still disabled? System ctl system ctl enable firewall access is denied. This error, guy, we have got an error. Let's copy this error on the Google and see what is. Oh, this one Almalinux they don't use enable. They use start systemctl start firewall d. I don't know why every time I forget to use command sudo. So if we check the status of our firewall is now active. So this is how you can enable and disable the firewall service in your Alma Linux servers. Right? So right now you have seen on how to enable and disable firewall. Set Linux. So this Linux is more secured. So to enable this set Linux, first to check this if set to see if the set Linux is enabled, you have to type the command get enforce, get get enforce enforcing. You see, it's enforcing. There is no set Linux is not enabled or is not disabled, right? So if the set Linux is enabled, you can see here after the word enforcing. You can see here after the word enforcing here somewhere here you can see that say Linux is enabled, but in this server the say Linux is disabled, right? So how to enable it? How to enable it? We have to go to file configuration. We have to go to config file of say Linux. So to go to config file of say Linux, we have to have the editor first. We can use either VM or Nano editor. So I'm not sure if we have the VM in this server. I'm not sure if we have Nano editor in this server. By default, it comes with VI. So we're gonna use VI hyphen. Yeah, we have to go to run it as a use root first. VI. So we have to run as a root first. VI etc say Linux. Say Linux and then config file. So say Linux enforcing. Oh, is enabled. If you can see the code is show that the say Linux is enabled. You see here say Linux say no, it's not enabled. So we have to type say Linux enforcing in order to enable this. So is enabled. I see here this one say Linux enforcing is enabled. I don't know why there is not showing. So we have to terminate this. We will terminate this Q right and quit. And then let me clear this tab. Okay, say Linux is enabled. So I don't know why it's not set status is not showing that it's enabled. Say Linux. Oh, it's enabled. Here, the status of set Linux is enabled. This what is say Linux? I don't know why you guys you ask what is say Linux? What is say Linux? What is say Linux? So what is say Linux? Is a secure say Linux is secure say Linux or security enhanced Linux is a security module in the Linux kernel that provides fine-grained control over the system access using mandatory. This is a definition of say Linux. If you have enough time, you can Google by yourself there how the say Linux is working. For those who learn security, they know how say Linux is working. Okay, this is say Linux definition. Maybe you can go deep into Red Hat. What is say Linux security enhanced? Security Enhanced Linux is a security architecture for Linux system that allow administrator to have more control over who can access the system. It was originally developed by the United Nations, blah blah blah. So if you have enough time, you can go ahead and read by yourself there what is Linux. Okay. So in this video, so far you have seen on how to add user, how to install and configure the Almalinux, how to add users, how to configure firewalls, and say Linux. In the next tutorial, we're gonna do the network setting. We're gonna do a basic network setting for this server. We're gonna do a basic network setting for this server. So there's two ways to configure the network. The first way is during the installation step. There you can configure the network, and the second way after installing this server. So you can configure your own static IP so that you can make your server available public, configure your form available public, and uh, and then other user can access it remote. Guys, I have a flu. It's very give me hard time. Very give me hard time, my friend. The flu give me hard time. Very hard time. Okay, so let's see how to configure this network. So to set up the static IP address to the server, modify the setting like follow. So we're gonna open our editor. We're gonna open our configuration file, and we will configure those tab. So if we will now going to set our host name. So to set host name in the system in your server, you type in your Alma Linux server type hostname ctl, and then set hyphen hostname, and then dlp. Here you type your host name, right? Let's say dev dot server one dev.server1 dot dot what dot online. So this is our host name for server one. We're gonna call. So what is host name? For those who don't know what is host name, you can Google it. What is the host name in Linux? In Linux, as host name is unigulable to device on network acting as a human readable name distinguish it from the machine. So instead of using numeric identity, you use the label to assign the host name. So what does host name do? Serves as human readable identification for device, allowing you to easily distinguish it from other device. So this is the host name example. Host name, the name of the host, the one that we created. This one, webserver.example.com. As you remember there, our host name, we write that set host name dev.server1.online, and then we can press enter. Oh my God. We have to run this command, the sudo, and then put the password. Okay, our host name is now set up. So to check the host name you created, you can type host name. This is our host name, server.dev.server.online. So let's find the real example of host name. Okay, let's find the real example of host name. I want to make you understand it better. So in Linux, the host name is the name that identifies the machine on networks. So this host name we created will identify this server, right? So let's say we have more than one server, and then we want those server to be connected in the same networks. So how will I know? Okay, how will I know this network, this server is connected to this, to which network, right? How will I know which server is which server? What is that server is this? So let's say we have the developer server, we have the administration server, and we have the student server. So in order to identify our developer server in the network there, we give the host name, we create the host name to the server. So this one, we have server one, we call the dev.server1.online. And then we're going to have the student server, we're going to call it student.server1.online. So there it will be easier for us to differentiate and identify our server using the host name, right? So this is how you can create the host name. So we can use this host name to assign to our network. So as ChatGPT tell us, server one, web server, these are the different type of server. Okay. So example host name and description. Server one, a simple single word hosting commonly used in small setup. Web server. So this is kind of server that you serve the web service. It's often used to identify specific web server. Example, the cluster, DP prod, a database server that is in the production environment. Mail.example.com, a full qualified domain name, include the domain name, Ubuntu server, the default customer name given Ubuntu server, nodes 5 cluster, and node something like that. So check the host name on your Linux server. You just type host name or hostname CTL on the or hostname CTL on the hostname CTL or hostname CTL. We get this one. Static hostname is dev.service.server.online, and this, remember, this hostname is static, not dynamic. It will stay there forever unless you change it. Machine, vmware, Almalinux. This is the way how you can check the host name. And then to change to change it permanent on modern system using this one, I show you the way that how to change it permanent. So this command we use to create or set up the hostname permanent. This one, As I told you, we set our hostname to the dev.server1.online. So right now we are going to set. I'm going to show you how to set up the static IP to assign with the host name. The static IP means that it will always stay the same. Say even if you restart the computer, your IP still stay the same. If you leave it to dynamic, the IP is gonna change according to the network, to the way that router is assigned how to change the network. It's gonna be the dynamic host configuration protocol, something like that. So we're going first to display the device that's available in our network interface. So we're gonna type nm we're gonna type nmcli devices. So we have the devices, device name ENS 160, Ethernet connected ENS 160. So this is our network device name that we are going to assign this with our IP address, right? Our static IP address. So how are we going to change this IP address? So we're going to assign our server with default IP address. Let's say we're going to do to make it so currently is our IP is set to static. When we restart this server, we're going to have a different IP. So in order to prevent that, we have to set our IP to static instead of dynamic, right? Instead of dynamic, we have to set it to static. So to set that, we have to run this command nmcli connection nmcli nmcli connection modify and our interface name, our network interface name ENS 160 ANX 160, and then we're gonna use IP version 4 instead of Wi-Fi IP version 5, right? So we're going to type IP version 4 is IP4 IPv4 dot address and then our network address let's say 10.10, maybe let's make it 192.168.100.100. So this is class C. Our network, we're gonna make it. Our server, we're gonna assign to the static IP address of 192.168.100.100, and then this way the subnet, and then press enter. We get an error. Now we were able to assign the default IP address. Huyo mtashakuja Fungulie. I'm coming. Wewe kulala wewe sasa hivi hapo. Fungulia, fungulia. Fungulia. Okay, as we have now assigned, we have run this command to assign our server to static IP address. Then we have to run the command again. We have to set the gateway, default gateway. So the default gateway is going to be so to run the default gateways, we're going to run the command again. IP version 4.gateway gateway, and then 192.168. I'm going to say the gateway is dot 100. Dot one. Is okay now? Yeah, it's fine. It should be fine. Okay, thank you. So and then we're gonna set the default IP address and then gateway. So this is gonna be our default gateway to the server. uh Error invalid property gateway. Okay, I have to write gateway. Okay, now we have set the default gateway. So this is a default gateway. We have so far you have seen on how to configure the static IP address and set the default gateway to our server. And then the second thing is the next thing is if you want, you can set DNS. DNS. You can type your own DNS. Let's say so. We're gonna use the same command, but we will modify it a little bit. Our gateway is 100. So for the DNS, IP address dot DNS, and then put the DNS tab. So for the DNS, I'm gonna say 192.168 dot one dot one. I'm gonna set this as my default DNS. I'm gonna set this as my default DNS. Okay. Maybe make it dot 100 dot one. Dot one is my default DNS, and then press enter. And then the DNS has now been set. So now we're gonna see there are so much more on this network configuration. Maybe if you want to set the DNS for multiple DNS specific to specify with the space separated, you can use other code. But I will not go all of that for today's tutorials, right? And then we have to restart our network interface, right? We have to restart our network interface now. We type mcli nmcli, and then connection modify e and our network interface name was ENS 160 ENS 160 ANX 160. But here it should not modify. We have to down first. We turn it off first. And then we turn it off first, our network interface. And then NMCLI again. And then we say connection up, our network interface. which is ENS 160. So this way you can turn off and turn on the network interface. Error not authorized. Okay. Error connection activation failed. Not authorized control network. Are not using the vmware. But this way you can turn off and turn on the network. So to see those settings changing that we made, let me first clear the terminal, and then there's a NMCLI devices shows ENSC 160 ENSC 160 is not assigned. You see the default gateway is not assigned. I don't know why. Let's run it again until we get like gateway is assigned. IP get invalidity. I first have to see what IP address is connected to this machine. Look back. Because I'm using vmware, that's why, right? It's not real devices. So I have to network adapter there setting. So UNC network is down. UNC network is link is up 1000 because I need to change the network interface. Let's see what the now sudo. We first check the IP address. You see, if you remember, this is the default network address we created. You see, this here has the default information that we created, right? The IP address is 192.168.100, and the gateway is at 100.1. So these are the details that we created there. So far you have seen on how uh, to configure the network setting, some basic network setting, right? You have seen there everything there. So, but in this video, I did not show you how to configure the IP6 address because I think we don't need it. Okay, So the next thing is to do is enable and disable service. Enable and disable service. So to display service list in our Kali machine, in our Linux server machine, Almalinux, let me clear. So to display the service available in our Almalinux, type system tl-t service. I think I have to end up here for today. We will continue some other day. That is all for today.